Hello and welcome to Resident Evil 4, the Chainsaw demo. I am re-uploading a playthrough of the demo simply because I was really dissatisfied with my initial upload, in particular the audio. The discrepancy between the video volume and my volume narrating was just terrible. In fact, the narration volume was so high in the final video that even turning it right down on YouTube, it was still too prominent. And I think the problem may well be the Tempest engine in the PlayStation 5, because that's where I was capturing it from, which converts things into 3D audio. Now, of course, it will convert the game audio into 3D audio, and as it captures, it then converts that back into probably 2-channel stereo for you to process later or to upload to things like YouTube. However, there seems to be a loss of volume in that process. What it doesn't do, of course, and independently of that, is the microphone level. Your mic is not going through the 3D audio system, and so the volume from the mic is just so much higher than the final captured audio from the video. I think that might be the issue. I have no idea. Hopefully Sony will sort it out later on with a patch or something, or somebody will figure something out. But in the meantime, I'm going to be capturing my voice on an independent track on the PC using a different microphone, and capturing the audio track with the PlayStation 5, the in-game one. So let's just get into it then and see how much I remember and how much I forgot. And it was only a few days ago. We're going in.
September 30th, 1998. It's a day I'll never forget. The cop inside me died that day. And that night, Raccoon City was wiped out, thanks to the bioweapons created by Umbrella. Somehow I made it out, but too many others weren't so lucky. I was asked later to join a top-secret government program. Not that I had a choice. The training, punishing missions, nearly killed me. But at least they kept my mind off everything. If I could just forget what happened that night. The pain, even for a second. This time, it can be different. It has to.
So that's the backstory to where we are now. As it says in the blurb, it's been 6 years since Leon S. Kennedy survived the Raccoon City incident. I have actually got to do a review of Resident Evil 2, the remake of Resident Evil 2, because that is also part of Leon's story. But anyway, the premise behind Resident Evil 4 is that he's searching for the president's lost daughter. Again, as it says in that blurb. And this is a real iconic little picture, not a little picture, but a picture of Leon in a car, which is parallel to the original, where that's how the game really opens up, with Leon being driven into the heartland of Spain, because this is set in Spain, and some kind of fictional area of Spain, and that's where he hopes to find the president's daughter. So let's just get into it. Now, one thing that's immediately noticeable is the graphical overhaul, the way that this game looks. It was what I was mentioning in the original take of this demo. And another interesting thing that I wanted to point out was that the camera follows Leon, the character, from an over-the-shoulder kind of perspective, as if it's a handheld camera, which has been a feature of quite a few horror films, especially the kind of teen, slasher kind of movies. You get this idea that somebody's accompanying you with or recording what's going on. So we're going to go in. Now, hopefully this time, when I comment on things that I can hear, you'll also be able to hear them, because that was a problem in the first one. I also mentioned that when I was at university, I did write a paper about Resident Evil 4, and at that time, I knew Resident Evil 4. This is the original, like the back of my hand. I did say that I knew it like the back of my hand in the original take of this video, but it's been years since I played it. In fact, it's a game I have meant to review, the original one, but on the strength of this remake, I'm probably going to just end up reviewing this remake instead. It's that impressive. And the first thing I commented on was the sound of these, when I always assumed were crows, but I think they're actually ravens. I don't know enough about the two species to really know whether crows or ravens, or either of the species would be in a forest like this. But the reason it makes more sense that they're ravens is ravens are more associated with horror and the dead, supernatural, than perhaps crows. You could say crow. There is a film called The Crow, which is all about rebirth and everything. So I kind of, either there's two ways of looking about it, I suppose. Whether you think or both birds are synonymous with that, I don't know. And I don't know if it's a geographical thing.
How far could he have gone?
So he just mentioned how far has he gone, so he's following somebody. But I think, especially the sounds here of these birds don't sound like crows to me. So I'm thinking they may be ravens. But I could be wrong. So if you know more, let me know. So I'm very curious to know if they are crows or ravens. So Leon's on. This is right at the beginning of the game. And what threw me last time is because this graphical update is so good, so just so spectacular in terms of everything, in terms of the meshes, which are the trees and the shrubbery, the foliage around, those particle effects. I don't know how clear this is going to be on the YouTube video, but that mist is thinning and getting stronger and moving all at the same time. It's got a really kind of amazing effect with that dynamic lighting coming through. And I'm running this on the PlayStation 5, but with the frame rate setting. So this isn't even using ray tracing, which is the other setting. I just wanted to keep it, the frame rate up. So let's go. Oh my god. And the attention to detail is a complete overhaul. These features, which I didn't quite recognize, are all in the original. But it's just the way they've managed to update it. And what I was saying is that some people, they don't appreciate this at all. Some players just think that the original should be left. They don't really appreciate any kind of tinkering or remastering or anything like this. For me, beg your pardon, I am completely the opposite. I think that if the same development company, the same people who were responsible for the original, so maybe not the original staff, but maybe some of the original staff got involved in this project. I haven't really researched that. I'll do that for the review. If they can do this years later, then I'm all for it. So another thing I was pointing out is just this ridiculous attention to detail here. And the fact that when they do this remake, they can do things, and I'll show you an example of that. So came to this hut, and at this point I just didn't recognize it, but it is right at the beginning. And again, because the way this looks is just so much, it is better than the original. That's And I love this little animation there, that look back, because he is a trained police officer, and as we saw in that introduction, he's had a lot of training, so he's completely aware of his environment. He's checking things all the time. One thing I was saying is, if we just look at this log pile here, and then, you know, a lot of players are just going to blast past this and they won't really appreciate much of this. But anybody with any kind of game level design experience or kind of graphical design experience might pick up on things like this. In the past, you wouldn't have been able to create that log pile in a game. You could create it in the game engine that the game was made of, but because that would be so processor intensive, you couldn't put it in the game because of the cost. Every asset, everything that's placed in a game, so all these details, like the window, like the door, like these kind of crates here, these baskets, logs, the barrel, everything has cost in terms of processing. And you have to account for all of these objects when you're making the game, so that you don't go over a certain limit, because otherwise, of course, that affects frame rate, can crash the game, slow it down. And so in the past, you wouldn't have been able to have a log pile like this. In fact, the discrepancy with that would be that there would be fewer logs, there'd be more uniform, there'd be many more duplicates of the same objects, and it would look more uniform. Now, there are going to be duplicates in that log pile, but because they've all been rotated, moved, and all of this, the overall effect is just completely different. They're all individual. And so that's an example of how far we're getting now with in terms of
Anyone
not
home?
just graphics, not just textures like this, which we call materials. We used to call materials when I was doing game level design. I don't know what they call now. I think they do still call them materials. Not just that, but the total amount that you can actually put in the game and still allow it to run well. So let's see, let's explore. Oh look, it's Asmongold's room. Equipped. Just a joke. Now, another interesting thing here is we have these objects, and that, believe it or not, is Spanish. And what I think is se acerca el juicio. I think it's something like it is near justice, or the justice, or something like that. Or it is close to justice. Something like that. I don't know what the literal translation of that is, and as I was saying in the last video, my Spanish is very, very rusty. I haven't spoken it properly in absolutely years. I mean, just look at this. So we've got, is that a clothes hanger? Yeah, that's a clothes hanger. But this place is a mess. Wow. Doesn't seem to be anybody home at the moment. In fact, it doesn't seem like anybody's been here for a very long time. Or if they have been, they certainly haven't done any cleaning. We have some more Spanish here. Hasta el fin vivimos contigo, no temeremos. And hasta el fin is until the end. Vivimos contigo, we live together. And no temeremos, I don't know what that is at the moment. I've completely forgotten. Let's try this door. Look at the lighting effects on that. On the left there, as we went in. Very impressive. Ooh. One of the locals. Speaking Espanol.
Sorry to barge in like this. Busco a un policía. ¿Vino aquí?
so there has been a police officer here ahead of him. Oh, watch out! Nice kick. Oof, broke his neck.
This is not good.
My thoughts exactly. We just heard a scream. Right, let's have a look. Now we have a gun. And so what I was mentioning before was the fact that the gun, one of the features of the original was the awkward angle of the gun. Here it seems to be reversed. It's diagonally going right. I seem to recall in the original it would go diagonally left, but I could be wrong about that. Anyway, that awkward angle of the line of sight there, instead of it just being straight, really adds to the tension, especially in the combat. So,
man, that stinks.
oof. Oh, we can get out of that. Sorry. Oh, charming. I confirm. So if you again, somebody who likes collectibles, remember to collect that if you want to collect everything in the game, because that becomes a file that you collect. Classic Resident Evil kind of little mini cutscene there. And of course now we have the flashlight, which makes everything so much more intense. And we can crouch, but we can't crouch and use the gun at the same time. Which, because I wanted to go Metal Gear, I said down here. I wanted to go Metal Gear, but it's not going to let me do that. Wow. Oh. Little rats. Leave that alone. You can hear a radio. The lighting effects behind this curtain are really spooky, especially the first time you play this, because you don't know what's coming up. We really take it for granted how gameplay smoothly intertwines with cutscenes and then back out now.
Hey.
And I can remember a time when that just wasn't the case. You'd have to actually load a cutscene.
I read you. What's your situation?
It doesn't sound like he's in having a good time. It's a good question. The first game that I can really remember of that kind of transition from gameplay straight into a cutscene and out of a cutscene straight back into gameplay was Killzone 2. Right. Have we got anything in here? I don't think we have. That was the cop. Lots of cult kind of books. That, you see, that's kind of odd. They've been the guy that we met earlier on didn't seem like he was much of a scholar.
What was that?
Somebody coming. Oh, it's the guy from the upstairs.
Fucking way.
Damn it. I'll do it.
This just keeps getting worse.
That was the guy we killed. What the hell is that? Oh, it's got the Last of Us vibe with creepy. Was it cordyceps? that's this. Where are you? Let's see if we can get past these guys. Before I made the mistake of going into that room, you see. But we can go straight past him because I know where I'm heading. I think they came from here. X marks the spot. Oh my god. Well, I don't. If that's the president's daughter, it doesn't look like she's in a good way.
Bruce, this is Condor 1.
Hunnigan here. What's your sit rep?
The president's daughter, Baby Eagle. It's likely she's in this village.
Our intel was correct then. Well done.
Need a location on a nearby lake. She may have been taken there.
Copy that. I'll see what I can find.
Hurry up. Something's happened to the people here. My escorts are... Gotta go.
Here is
Talk later.
Johnny. Ah, he's in real trouble now. We ain't got enough bullets.
I'll let myself out.
The impact of this game is so much more intense with this remake. But scene for scene, it is mimicking. It's following the original. It is faithful to the original, but it just works so much more powerfully, especially when you've got this kind of sound of the wind in the trees. The wind, the sound, the audio capture of that wind, the sound of that wind is just absolutely brilliant. Blood across a creaky wooden bridge over a chasm. What could go wrong? Let's get over here quickly. Now, in the original recording, I kept saying, there's a house on the left with bullets in it. There's a house on the left. And I swore I remembered the pathway. But because the pathway is exactly the same here, but it's been so drastically changed by the remake that I didn't really recognize it. Eventually, we did come to the hut that I had been talking about. But I'd completely forgotten about this area here. We can use these and collect these, and to reload, I remember how to do that now. I don't saying you can't use that now. The reason you can't use the typewriter, I think, is because we haven't got a ribbon, but it might also be because it's the demo. Absolutely amazing, this. Resident Evil 4 is definitely my favourite Resident Evil and one of the best games I've ever played, and so this remake is really adding to that experience. Poor dog. That is not a way to go. Traps are inanely cruel. We better remember this for later on. Now, in the first playthrough, the first video of this playthrough, I completely messed up this because I'd forgotten the tactics, and then I remember the tactic I used in the original to get past this point. because I have played the original on the hardest settings. So, and the way we do this, although we can smash this crate first and get some pesetas, and the pesetas we used for a certain weapon trader. Stranger. Right, you'll understand what that means if you played the original. Here. And what we do, we'll shoot him, and then you... Oh, I can't remember... Oh, it's L3. And I run back, and then I can shoot the guy from a distance. There you go. Have that suck him in VIP. Don't be a stats, where are you? Get away from me. Using the log as cover. In the... Yes! Come on. Oh, come on, have it. Now he's transformed because there's a bug on it. Now I think if you get to the bug quick enough, you can actually kill him a lot quicker, but I don't want to take that risk. I'm hoping that is handgun ammo that's just dropped. Still there. Is that it? Yes! Better. Well, it helped that I did play this before. He's not dead. I think that's new. I don't recall those getting up 3 times. Ooh! There's a trap. Just avoided it. Come on, be dead, please. Yes, handgun ammo. I can hear another one up ahead. See, it is the original. I mean, it follows the original, the layout, everything, but it just looks... I can't get over how good this looks. And the audio's been remixed and improved, I think, but it is the original sounds, the original ideas of the sound. Because one of the features of Resident Evil 4 is that perpetual atmospheric kind of... It's on cross between music and sound in the background that adds to the tension. Now, there you go. See, I remember you. And this was the hut I was talking about. Because it has somebody in it. And we're going to have to try and get hold of him. Get out of it. Just make sure he's dead. Or handgun ammo, thankfully. And a red herb. And a flash grenade. I think you bring up the attaché case like that. We can't use the red herb, unfortunately. There we go. Sure, we haven't got any more traps. Look at the ground and detailing. I mean, look at that. That's so far ahead. So far ahead. 10 years ago, wouldn't have got this even on the best PCs. Welcome to Jurassic Park. And little things like that, and the hair, his hair. Look at the wind going through his hair. All the strands. Wow. And so, this is the point I'm going to leave this video. We have the iconic village where all hell breaks loose and Resident Evil 4 became an instant classic. But for now, Leon and I are going to bid you farewell. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Take care.